I helped my best friend plan her dream wedding, but she turned into a bridezilla from hell. She ignored everyone, screamed over flowers, and her big day became a total nightmare. I'm a bridesmaid in my friend's wedding in June. Some backstory: my friend is currently in university and has an upcoming medical school interview, so she's been very stressed. Since she got engaged in the summer, she has had no idea what she wanted to do for colors. I and the other bridesmaids suggested she order some swatches from Azazi so she could start building a color palette. At Christmas time, she still hadn't determined her colors, but she wanted to go shopping for her flowers at a local silk florist. Originally, she wanted to design her own bouquet, but before even going shopping for those flowers, she ordered $400 worth of flowers from Temu, all of which she isn't using now. Now that she has her flowers picked out, she still can't come to a decision on colors for her bridesmaids' dresses. She originally wanted to get dresses from Park and Fifth, so she went to the store and tried them on herself and loved them. Her sister, who is her maid of honor, hated all of the dresses because of the style, form-fitting, and silk. This past weekend, I got a text from the bride to show me the colors she had chosen. There was a dusty lilac, agave, yellow, blue, and a peach. She asked which color I would feel comfortable wearing. I said any color she wanted me to wear, I'd more than happily wear. She then said that wasn't a good enough answer and that she wanted my opinion. I said again that any color would be good. So she picked purple for me, and that was good enough by me. She has said to us bridesmaids multiple times that we can pick whatever dress we want as long as we're comfortable. But then she asked me to send her the top dresses I liked so she could pick. I agreed and sent her the ones I liked. She asked out of all of them, which was my favorite, so I told her, and then she said that it wasn't hers and she preferred a different one. I said to her that I wouldn't be as comfortable in that one if that's what she was concerned about, but I would wear it happily. She asked for some time to think about it and she would get back to me. About an hour later, she was freaking out after thinking she found her bridesmaid dress colors and then realizing they didn't look good with her flowers. So she asked for advice, and I said if she went with her gut and stuck to only agave, it would look beautiful with her other color navy. But then she said she should have simplified her flowers if she wanted bright colors. It became a whole thing, and she can't change her flowers now because she already has them. I also explained to her that out of 1,000 photos her photographer will take, 10 to 15 will be with her bridesmaids, and also her photographer has a very muted style, so that'll also change the colors in a picture. Then all of a sudden she flips a switch while I'm telling her that all of these ideas are all very pretty and will work. She then says, I think agave is the way I want to go. I think it'll look great on everyone, and I'm not asking this time, I'm just to be telling. At that point, I was so confused because she wanted our opinions as to which color we liked. Only 2 of the bridesmaids got to pick what they liked. I told her I would wear anything. Then she said that she doesn't want to come across as pushy, and I told her she wasn't being pushy. Finally, I asked if she was looking for opinions or for us to tell her that we didn't like the color she wanted us to wear. It's her wedding, but she is so wrapped up in what other people will think that it's inhibiting her to make a decision. I said the only thing that's making her sound pushy is when she tells us we can wear whatever dress we want, but she wants to pick the dress. I explained that if she wants us to feel comfortable, that's not how you go about that. At that point, her fiancé texted the other bridesmaid to tell her to casually mention to me that I was being rude and that the bride was incredibly offended that I didn't like her favorite dress because I liked my favorite dress. But the bride never communicates when she's offended about something. It ended up being a whole thing, and I later apologized to her for coming across as aggressive. But I also said to her if she's seeking opinions and advice, she can't keep getting mad when someone gives her advice or opinions. Bear in mind, for my wedding, this girl is also my bridesmaid and told me the dresses I wanted for bridesmaids were ugly, and she wouldn't do her hair how I wanted it done. She later tells me she won't kick me out of the wedding and that my opinions and advice are incredibly valuable to her. But every time she asks for my opinion, she just gets mad at me. So I've determined she's seeking validation and just wants everyone to agree with her all the time. That's my Bridezilla story. This is incredibly exhausting to me. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Whatever you were doing before isn't working too well. If you are having this much stress now, then maybe you need to speak to the bride and see if you should just come as a guest. She'll probably freak out, but your mental health is your first priority, not a wedding. Oop. I fully agree with you. I had a very similar situation a little more than a year ago, and the bride and groom ended up kicking me out of the wedding party. I've been told that I'm very blunt, and that comes from years of working with only men, so I see the world as black and white and yes or no. No ifs, ands, or buts. It just is what it is. My boyfriend has also helped me not care what others think anymore. I would feel terrible telling her that I don't want to be a bridesmaid. But in some sense, I think she's also upset because my boyfriend and I just finished designing my engagement ring, and in her world, she's the only one who can be engaged at a time. Her sister got engaged shortly after her and she texted me being all salty about it, and I told her that it's not the end of the world. There can be more than one bride in this world. She didn't like that, but I didn't know what else to say to her. In another way, we're often competing about things. But that's what girls do. But everything my boyfriend and I do, she wants to do with her fiancé, but he isn't interested. Her fiancé has also made more comments than necessary about how pretty I am, or that my boyfriend is incredibly lucky to have me. So he gives me weird vibes sometimes. Commenter duh. You need to learn to turn into the skid with people like this. You can validate her feelings. She was hoping to be the only bride and she's frustrated at her sister because her expectation doesn't match reality. That doesn't mean that she should act on these feelings, but she just wants to be seen. Yes, bride, it must be frustrating having your family's attention and energy split. This is a really great tactic to take with toddlers also. BTW, show her that you see her, but don't validate her acting on these feelings. OOP, another great point, thank you. Sometimes I feel like I need to react to her issues like she is a toddler. She's also 22, and I'm almost 25, so our age differences and the fact that I'm second youngest in my family and she's the oldest really shows how we deal with conflict. Sounded like the bride was unsure of herself and kept changing the rules/goals for the wedding. OOP. Oh, for sure. I don't know fully how she was raised, but her parents, I know, didn't raise her to have so many issues making decisions. Even the week before her boyfriend proposed, she was talking about how she wasn't ready to get married, and sometimes I think she needs to think about that again. She wasn't ready, but the diamond got flashed in front of her and it was her moment. She never told her boyfriend she wasn't ready, and he should have known that because she's caused so many issues. Commenter toi. Girls and good friends, regardless of sex, don't compete. They lift each other up and support each other. Anyway, if I were you, I'd drop out. It's only going to get worse from here. My god, 500 words about flowers? I can't wait until she has to choose the food. OOP. I just feel like since the day we met, it was always competition. I went on birth control. She had to go on birth control, but she was too lazy to remember to take her pill. She was fine taking Plan B and rubbing that in my face because my boyfriend and I decided we wanted to wait until marriage now. We bought a camper. Now she wants a camper so bad, so she can renovate it like we're doing to ours, and she can tell me that it's not that much work. It's a lot of work when it's too cold to work on it outside, and you work full time. Sometimes I think our friendship is more forced. My other friends that are true and genuine friends, I never feel like we're competing for things. When they get married, it's the best time ever. They have kids, and it's amazing. Oh, for food, it was decided 2 days after they were engaged, hot dogs. Commenter 4. JFC, why are you still entertaining this bullshit? I couldn't even finish the post because the bride is so annoying. Just don't go to the wedding. With people like her, friendships often end with the wedding. I had a pick-me bridesmaid. I didn't care about the dress, just keep it a lighter color or anything else about their looks. She insisted on getting a skin-tight wedding dress for her bridesmaid dress, and I just uninvited her the day of. I told her I didn't need her drama anymore, as she has always behaved like this. Never spoke to her again. My other bridesmaid got married a few years later. She was furious that her wedding she planned in 2 months was 2 days after I was scheduled to give birth. I wasn't her bridesmaid. I don't really talk to anyone from my wedding. They either died or got married themselves and split off from the friend group. No animosity, except for Tina. We just grew apart right away. OOP. In a way, I feel like I have to entertain it, because this is my boyfriend's cousin who is getting married, so I don't want to burn bridges in a family. But yeah, honestly, this just adds to reasons I hate weddings. Update 1. This weekend the bride had her bachelorette party. We're from Manitoba, editor's note, in Canada. So it's the bridal party's job to plan and pay for the bride to attend. The weekend began on Friday at 7 p.m. We all drove to the bride's condo where her and 2 of the other bridesmaids live. We went to Activate and had a blast. We came back after that and had snacks and drinks and did a lingerie shower for the bride. Ended with some games and went to bed. Saturday was where crap hit the fan. We went for brunch in the morning and then went on a pedal pub. The bride decided it would be a fantastic idea to order 2 punch bowls, margarita and mojito, at the first location, and she had about 15 cups of it. She was drunk by our first stop, but her Bach, she can enjoy herself. Then we had 2 other stops where she continued to drink, and then some of the girls wanted a sangria tower and all hated it, but had to drink it anyways. The walk back to the vehicles was slow for the bride. We asked if she'd be okay and ready to go to a Mexican restaurant for 8. She said yes, so we continued on. Then the bride started puking. The friend driving had to pull over 4 times for the bride to puke. Some of us suggested maybe ordering pizza, getting into comfy clothes, and watching movies instead of going to this Mexican restaurant that would turn into a club at 10 p.m. The bride refused and ended up passing out on the bathroom floor back at her condo. I had to go get her some electrolytes. She also puked 2 more times at home. We ended up getting ready to leave for the restaurant over an hour later than planned because of the bride passing out. Not a big deal. Now keep in mind, the bridesmaid that planned most of this bachelorette trip is pregnant and in her first trimester and was dealing with a terrible cold as well. So we got to the restaurant and the bride was angry that it was their late night menu because it was after 9 p.m. She also didn't want to drink anything. This is important to know for the rest of the story. So we ate some appetizers and waited for the restaurant to turn into a club. Now, the girls that were there for her all didn't know we were clubbing except for 2 of them. So when we heard about this, some girls were confused. So 10 p.m. rolled around and the dance floor opened. The only things the bride wanted to do on her bachelorette weekend was get drunk and dance. But she wouldn't dance until 12 a.m. At that point, she had made the entire group annoyed because we drove all the way to this place that she loves just for her to not want to dance. Out of 9 girls, 6 of us all hate clubbing, but we were all there to do what she wanted. So her sister, who is her maid of honor, explained to her that if she wasn't going to dance, we would be leaving. It took another half hour of getting the bride out on the dance floor, and at this point, the bridesmaid who planned everything was nauseous from the smell of vaping and needed to go outside, and she asked me to come with her. That's when she started crying. I asked her what was wrong, and the bride, who was this bridesmaid's future sister-in-law, had said to another girl that she just wanted me and her to leave because we weren't even dancing with her when we had danced a bunch. But the pregnant one was cramping, tired, and nauseous, and felt that everything she was doing wasn't good enough for the bride. At the end of it all, we left at 1:30 a.m. Everyone was mad at the bride for making such a scene and then, of all things, wanting to go clubbing and not even get tipsy. She wasted everyone's time and wasn't grateful for anything that was planned for her. She complained the entire time and made all of us feel horrible for trying to plan something fun. Now that this weekend is done, we're counting down for when her wedding is over. This has been a crap show. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. I think y'all should just not take her seriously at all and do what makes you happy. That B doesn't care for you, so why should you care for her? OOP. At this point, I don't give a royal crap about anything for her wedding. She says one thing, then another thing, and has zero respect for those who are there for her. She is having a social 2 weeks before their wedding, and it goes from 8 p.m. to 2 a.m. Due to medication I take for migraines, I cannot stay until that time and drive myself home safely because my meds make me sleepy. So, I told her that she wasn't happy, and I don't really care. I also hate wedding socials, clubbing, all of those things. She has no respect for those of us with limits. OOP explains what a wedding social is. OOP, a Manitoba thing where you have tickets that people can buy, and at the social, they can buy drinks and tickets for prizes, and all of that money goes to the bridal couple. A Manitoba way of saying, get drunk and give us money. Commenter do. Honestly, it sounds like this woman is about to lose all of her friends because she can't communicate, doesn't appreciate anyone's efforts to try to figure out what she wants, and then shuts down and blames them instead of taking accountability. Best of luck with the wedding, since I'm sure you've all paid for dresses and everything, but no, it is possible for you to still drop out if you want to, and I think it'd be justified. OOP. She is becoming quite the piece of work. She is in my wedding as well, and she's been quite difficult to deal with. But she's on a short leash with me. I don't want to kick her out of my wedding party because I was kicked out of one that was in the family, and that caused a lot of issues. So I don't mind having her there so long as she has some respect for those around her. She will get told that she can't get hammered. Commenter toi. Good lord. Between the wedding flowers / colors and this, how are you friends? OOP. Honestly, I'm trying to chop it all up to be the stress she had with trying to get into medical school. She didn't end up getting in, but she texted me earlier this week to ask if we could have a conversation to clear the air because she felt there was tension. I explained to her that she had been very disrespectful and ungrateful. She didn't respect the fact that no matter how many times I explained, my medication makes me very sleepy, so it's hard to stay up late. The most recent time I explained this to her, again, was the Friday of her bachelorette party. She came back to me and said that she didn't understand the specifics of why I took medication, but she would have been willing to come to a mutual agreement had she known. That just straight up ripped me because I have now explained this to her 3 times in a span of a week, and each time, she claims I've said nothing and I have the texts to prove it. Update 2. The wedding from hell is this Saturday, and the groom texted the pregnant bridesmaid this to pass along to the rest of us. I have 0 words. Check out my profile for the other parts of this story. Who would even send this? What the actual heck? Screenshot of text messages, linked in the description. Transcripts of the group text messages. OOP explains who was talking. Maid of honor, time, and we'll all make sure bride has a blast. OOP. It basically just transpired overnight, so we're all sort of pivoting to make it work. Bridesmaid. I was under the impression Redacted had brought this up as she had told me this was the plan a while back and let me know yesterday things had changed. Groom. Going forward, if anything else comes up, could we just make sure there's a bit more communication? This is my, and Redacted's, first time being part of a Canadian wedding party, so we want to make sure we're doing everything right to ensure Redacted's wedding lives up to everything she dreamed of. This was not brought up with us, at least not in a way that we understood. But it's okay, now we're all on the same page. OOP. This is my first time being in a wedding too. Part of it is a lot of last-minute things. End of the transcript. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. The bride absolutely wrote this so the groom could send it LOL. OOP. Oh, I think so too. This is such disgusting and childish behavior. This is 100% directed at me because I'm getting married in October and the bride has mentioned that she gave me permission to get married in the same year and I should be grateful. Commenter 2. Wait, he sent this to his pregnant sister? The one who planned this girl's entire bachelorette party, thoughtfully I might add, only to be treated like shit. The bride's FSIL. JFC, this bride sucks. OOP, that's right, now we're all supposed to stay the night with the bride too. I was looking for every excuse in the dang book to not spend the night. I was planning on having a quiet morning before the mess and go for a walk to clear my head, drink coffee, and now it's not going to happen. I don't know what to do. I was even going to do a speech to be nice, but I literally have nothing nice to say, and I'm the one bringing 3 mirrors and 2 huge coolers for them to borrow for drinks at the wedding, and I'm ready to forget them all. Commenter 3. Yeah, the text is requesting for people to focus on her wedding for the next 2 days so she can have her moment. A moment is a brief time. I think technically 90 seconds, but I won't be particular here. Not 2 entire self-absorbed days. And that probably on top of weeks if not months of similar demands and displays of self-absorption. OOP. It's just the part. So for the next 2 days, I don't care if you want to get married, or are getting married, or are married, or anything. Please, please for us. For the next 2 days, can we just keep this about the bride's wedding so she can have her moment? Is what really rips my gitch. This is directed at me 100%. She has hated that we ended up getting engaged and are getting married in the same year as her. Her maid of honor is her sister, and she's getting married in August, so you can only imagine what the dynamic in her family is currently like. Update 3. The day began on Friday. After a bunch of thinking, it wasn't worth the fight with the bride to not stay the night, so I stayed. 2 of her bridesmaids tried to make the excuse that it would make more sense for them to drive an hour and a half back home and then come back for 8 a.m. the next day, so we bullied them into staying even though they tried to say they wouldn't sleep good. Well, it didn't matter if we didn't have a good sleep because it wasn't our wedding. We got up what felt like bright and early on Saturday morning after getting into bed at 1 a.m. and we hit the ground running. Hairstylist showed up at 8, and that began the getting process. We only technically had to be ready for around 3 p.m., but with 6 girls to get their hair done, it does take time. Anyways, we had brunch, got our hair done, and watched the bride battle with doing her own makeup and her eyelashes not cooperating with her burgundy mascara. I just laughed. I was in the process of putting false eyelash clusters on and doing my own makeup to really invest in her issues. She was being incredibly critical of everyone's makeup, telling them to blend more, bronze more, and make it super glowy. This bride didn't gift anyone anything, except her sister, whom she bought shorts and a sweater from Bridezilla. I was a little confused, but maybe not giving your bridal party anything to thank them for going through hell with you is normal. Her parents also don't like to use air conditioning, so the temperature in the house was so bad, 26 degrees Celsius. Editor's note, approximately 79 degrees. and we were in shorts and hoodies as requested by the bride. Then, about 15 minutes before the photographer arrived, the bride sent me and another bridesmaid to go and get the wedding bands and other small details from the groom because she forgot about flat lay shots. So we rushed to the groom's house to go and get those things, and we made it back with a few minutes to spare. During the rush of everything going on, the bride was still finishing her vows. We eventually went outside for the bride to have a private moment with her mom to put her dress on and do her first look with her dad. That's when things continued to drag on. The bride was freaking out and panicking through it all. Then we did our first look with her, got her back inside, and prepped to do her first look with her soon-to-be husband, and then things started to fall even further behind. We at that point needed to be at the wedding ceremony location for 5 p.m. for bridal party photos, and the bride and groom only showed up for 5:30. At this point, we were running around trying to make sure last-minute things were in place. We started to learn and hear about things that had gotten lost in the midst of moving things under the cover of the tent. In case the potential rain came overnight, the guys were sent to the ceremony location the morning of to put everything back, and the bride should have known that things were going to get lost if there wasn't anyone there to make sure they got the location of items right. She had a friend as her day of coordinator, and that person should have been there. The first thing lost was the guest book. It was placed into a box and then put off where no one knew where it went. We ended up finding it about 10 minutes before the ceremony. Then when we were trying to find the pens, the bride said she ended up losing them, and we had to find something else. We were on a farm, with no house on it, nothing. And every pen and Sharpie we tried didn't work. Then we lost all of the decorations like flowers that were supposed to go on the guest book table. Then came wedding party photos. We started with the girls, and I noticed a dark spot on the bride's dress in a few places and realized it was blood. So I said something to the bride, and that's when crap hit the fan. The bride's period had started. This is where I had to laugh, because I knew this would happen, because our cycles have been always 1 week apart and I just had mine. So obviously panic set in for her and we had to fix this. So we rushed her to the porta potties to help her fix things. We used double-sided sticky tape and safety pins to get things covered because she didn't want to use a tied-to-go pen. Then the groom started yelling at me to go and get safety pins and I had zero idea where those were, and someone came with a few. This is why you make a wedding day emergency kit. We eventually fixed the situation, and we were already behind with the bride and groom needing to start family photos. We continued to run around even more, and then the bridal party started to get hungry. Both the bride and the groom said they would be giving us supper, and they didn't give us any, so you can only imagine after being in the heat all day and only having brunch, you get a little hungry later in the evening. So no supper, and it quickly moved to 7 p.m. and it was time to start the ceremony, and we had to get the bride's veil back in after she took it out for bridal party photos, and I gave it to her dad with the bobby pins to put it back in the camper that was on the yard, and he lost the bobby pins, so another bridesmaid took a bunch out of her hair to secure the veil. Then, while we were waiting to all go out, the bride was pissed about how the bottles of wine and water were arranged on the tables and started to yell at us to rearrange it all. And she was also MIA for 20 minutes before this, and we eventually found her freaking out in the camper. The ceremony began, it went well, no one fainted thank goodness, but I thought the bride would after she had only had a sip of water all day and almost no food. Then, we all stayed until 3 a.m. to make the couple happy. The disorganization of so many aspects of this wedding was enough to blast me into orbit. Being yelled at by the groom to bring safety pins when I had no idea where they were was horrible. Some of her bridesmaids were useless and just kept sitting down instead of helping with things that were needed. The groom was also calling the bride a bunch of times during the morning because he didn't know where things went, and it made her freak out, but we couldn't tell him to quit it. So glad this wedding is over. Finally, the bride is going to continue working towards her master's and will be living an hour and a half away from her husband during the week for the next 6 years. She will also keep trying to get into medical school during this time, so I'm not quite sure how you have a successful marriage when you only see each other 2 days a week, but she wants to keep living with her roommates, and her husband doesn't want to move to be close to her and have the opportunity to actually live together. Update 3. Deleted my last post. We're trying this again. Here's the bullet point list of the wedding day from hell. After setting up for the wedding in the blistering heat, being eaten alive by flies and mosquitoes, we managed to convince the 2 bridesmaids coming from an hour and a half out of town to stay. The maid of honor, pregnant bridesmaid, and myself all decided to stay for the night because it would mean a lot to the bride. If a pregnant bridesmaid can sleep on an air mattress, so can the rest of us. We explained it would be uncomfy for all of us, especially the pregnant one, but if it made the bride happy, we were happy to support her in that way, and then we all could sleep in. Hair began at 8 a.m. The bride's parents do not like to use air conditioning, so the temperature in the house was 26 degrees Celsius. Our hair all fell. The frizz was insane for some, and we were all very uncomfortable in our hoodies the bride wanted us to wear. The bride didn't give anyone except her sister, who was her maid of honor, a gift for being in the wedding party. Typically you do give something, but when you spend $5,000 on your flowers, I can see why you don't have money for much else. The only food we had all day was brunch. The bride and groom didn't give us any supper, so we were a little hungry, and it was a dessert wedding. We pigged out on the late-night snack of hot dogs later on in the night. We did our own makeup. The bride was incredibly critical of everyone, except me, because I looked professional done LOL. Her mascara wasn't working the way she wanted it to, ended up causing her to have a freak-out session. The bride didn't finish her vows until 5 minutes before her and her husband did them privately. That created an unnecessary amount of panic in her all morning. The groom kept calling her the morning of to freak out about where things went at the ceremony location. Things were moved under the tent in case rain came overnight, and the groom and groomsmen had to put it all back the morning of and lost a bunch of things. 15 minutes before the photographer arrived, the bride realized she wanted flat lay detail shots, so we had to rush to the groom's house to get his cologne and wedding bands. We were then told to get into our dresses and then spend well over an hour outside while the bride put on her dress with her mom. So the second photographer took a bunch of different pictures with us bridesmaids, which ended up being a lot of fun. Her first looks happened, tears were shed, then the bride and groom started to run incredibly far behind. We were sent to the ceremony location, where disaster struck. The groom and groomsmen put many things in the wrong spot, lost the guest book. The bride lost her fancy guest book pens. Florals were lost that were meant for the guest book table, and the bride and groom didn't give us any supper, even though they told us they would have supper for us. We did bridal party photos, and then during bridesmaid photos, we noticed blood on the bride's dress. En route to the ceremony location, her period started, so she had some big blood spots. The groom yelled at me for not knowing where safety pins were because the bride didn't tell anyone where she may have extra. She didn't make a wedding emergency kit, so we were running around trying to find things. Then the bride wanted her veil put back in after wedding party photos, but her dad lost the bobby pins even though I gave them to him with the veil and said to put them together in the camper and not to lose any of them. He lost them. I was pulled in another direction while trying to get the veil into the camper because the groom needed something else. We later found the guest book after most guests had arrived, but all of the pens and Sharpies didn't work until someone had a random one in their vehicle that worked. Then we lost the bride for 20 minutes. Later to find out she was hiding in the camper freaking out because she didn't know if she was ready to get married. Just before we were all going to walk down the aisle, the bride was freaking out about how the water and bottles of wine were arranged on the table and started to yell at all of us that it needed to be fixed. Her dad had to talk her down and tell her that it was not time to be upset about that and that it was time to walk down the aisle. We all stayed until 3 a.m. to make the couple happy. This wedding was incredibly unorganized, so glad it's over. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. What in the world is a dessert wedding? Something people do when they're too cheap to properly feed their guests. I feel sorry for the pregnant woman not getting adequately fed. What a trashy and inconsiderate bride. OOP. We only had dessert, not an actual meal, and a bunch of their aunts made dessert, so they didn't pay for it. But yeah, it's a real cheap way of getting out of making sure guests are fed. I've been to one other wedding like this, but they had an appetizer bar which was stocked all night and was delicious. Commenter 2. Was this part of the update where you helped the bride to bully 2 bridesmaids to staying the night when they didn't want to? She was awful, but you also behaved awfully just so you could make it happy. This whole thing sounds insufferable. OOP. I mean it when I say it, that we were kind to these girls. We explained nicely that the bride wanted this, but never communicated it clearly. She lives with these girls and she wanted them to be there and not make the long drive home. They would have had 4 hours of sleep. We said to them that if they stayed, they'd get a lot more sleep. I shouldn't have said bullying because we didn't do that. We stayed for the bride. It's what she wanted. The entire wedding wasn't about us. If I didn't want to stay, I didn't have to, but we did it out of kindness for her because it was something she really wanted. This wedding wasn't about us. It was about the bride and trying to do something to make her happy. The girls who lived further away ended up sleeping super well and were grateful to have stayed, and they were staying the night at the bride's parents' house after the wedding anyways. Commenter 3. What did she do about the bloodstains on her dress? Did she have a spare? Oop. No. The groom asked if she had a backup dress. But we just covered the stains by flipping those sides of the dress and taping them with double-sided sticky tape and using safety pins to pin other pieces back, and you couldn't tell what we did at all. OOP on the bride treating the bridal party badly. OOP. Yeah, she did treat us like crap. The stress of a wedding is no excuse to treat us like that. I get that weddings bring out the worst in people. For my own, I'm being considerate of the fact that my maid of honor will be 8 months pregnant, but she is still determined to be up there with me, and I've said to her that she doesn't have to, but we are making sure a lawn chair will come with during pictures so she can sit down in between. My sister will also be 4 months postpartum, and she still wants to be in my wedding. She will be nursing at the head table, and I don't care because I love my new nephew. This bride didn't let her nephew come to their wedding. Editor's note: this is concluded that the wedding is over, and OP has deleted her account.